Hello, I'm John Bachman in for Greta Van Susteren. This is For the Record. Today, President Trump held his 11th cabinet meeting of his second term. A big discussion point in that meeting, the partial government shutdown.
We're not going to let the Democrats get away with this stuff, and people are wise to them, so they need to end the shutdown immediately, or we'll have to take some very drastic measures.
More on how the partial government shutdown is impacting American airports across the country in just a moment. Also, some major news out of Israel this afternoon. The country is saying the Iranian leader who ordered the closure of the Strait of Hormuz has been killed in a targeted strike. So how does this impact the United States? We'll talk about that later this hour. And the International Olympic Committee is saying no. Today, the IOC agreed to a new eligibility policy that bans men from women's events at the upcoming 2028 Olympic Games being held in Los Angeles, California. More on that later in the show. But first, today is day 41 of that partial government shutdown. Tomorrow, TSA agents are set to miss their second full paycheck. But a lot of agents are calling out, and of course, it's hard to blame them. As for airports across the country, travelers are facing hours-long security lines. Correspondent Jon Glasgow joins us live at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston, Texas, with the latest there. Hey, John.
Hey, John. And this has been just hours-long wait here. This is the passenger drop-off zone here of one of the terminals. There's only 2 terminals right now that you can use, and they've also made sure that the TSA lines are now shortened as well. So they're trying to scale things back. They're trying to consolidate things so they can get through people just as fast. Now have a look here behind me. You can see that's the main entrance. This slinks all around here. This is about a 2-hour wait just to get inside into the terminal. And then once you're in the terminal, John, there's an even longer lineup that goes on both floors of the airport. Now this is all because the TSA officers are calling out the airport using 2 out of 5 of the terminals and a limited number of security screening checkpoints. TSA pre-check and clear, well, those aren't available, so you really just have to stick this out. Nearly 40% have not showed up, these officers at major airports. That includes New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Houston. About 50,000 TSA officers have now gone nearly a month here without pay. Here in Houston, though, ICE agents are helping with security, and some are now helping screen IDs. Some even holding spots in line for people who need to use the restroom, who have to step out of line to use the restroom. So this weekend is super busy here in Houston. You have thousands here for Oil Industry Conference. You've also got the NCAA March Madness tournament. Houston Astros have opening night as well. Those that we spoke to, they are not happy about these travel hang-ups being political. Watch this.
I think it's crazy. I wish they open back up the government so that, you know, these TSA workers can get paid.
I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, honestly, to say the least.
All the people from customer service are extremely frustrated. Nobody wants to help. It's like, yeah, crazy.
I mean, I can't blame them for not wanting to come, you know, and work for free because we all have bills.
Don't get me started. I think that this is ridiculous.
Meantime, President Trump addressing this partial shutdown this afternoon at his cabinet meeting where he pointed the finger at Democrats. Watch.
They're punishing the American people, including travelers at airports, all in the quest to return to open borders and give amnesty to illegal alien criminals. They want to give amnesty to some of the criminals that came into our country.
So as Democrats continue to criticize ICE agents for being at the airport, today at JFK Airport, watch this. A baby stopped breathing. An ICE agent rushed over to help, performing the Heimlich maneuver there to save the baby's life. So back out here live, John, you can imagine that there's a lot of frustrated passengers, travelers here that want to just get through the gates so that they get on their way. But the airlines, Delta, United, trying to help ease that burden. In case they do miss their flight, they can change over their flight free of charge. But again, most people want to get out. It's spring break, so people are trying to get to where they got to go. And of course, they're not happy about all these lines. Send it back to you.
Fills up pretty quickly there. Jon Glasgow live for us at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. Thank you, John. Let's welcome in Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser. He joins us now live as well. Congressman, great to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
So is this shutdown really about funding DHS, or is it more about immigration policy?
John, it's a great question. What this shutdown is about is about stopping ICE from deporting illegals. Look, they spent 4 years, and I'm serious, they spent 4 years bringing 15 to 20 million people into this country. The last thing they want to see is them lose. They need them for the census so they can build up congressional districts. And should they get power again, God forbid, they're going to be looking at amnesty and then the right to vote. Look what's happening now, okay? The level of frustration for me is so very high. The Senate has said that they will not, John Thune called them out on this, called their bluff. They were offered a vote with no ICE funding. They turned it down. They said, no, what we want is to reform, make changes, correct, disable, cripple ICE, basically in so many words. So they won't even take that deal. I was just overseeing the House floor, and all of the speeches are about, give us a bill where ICE isn't funded and everything else so we can pay TSA, okay? They're also misleading the American people by what they're stating. They're entirely moving the goalposts. The Senate's saying one, the Senate Democrats are saying one thing, the Senate the House Democrats are saying another, and all the while, we're shut down for the second time. This is the second time they shut us down in a few months where TSA agents weren't getting paid. And look at the chaos that's been created. That's pretty much their goal as well. At the airports, the safety issues, the waiting times for people, the absolute eruptions in what will be one of the second busiest times of the year come next week.
It doesn't sound like there's a lot of wiggle room or any overlap with the Democrats right now. Like this is going to continue to be an issue.
So true. Here the president terminated, let go, released the head of DHS, the secretary. All kinds of concessions were made. Okay, maybe we were like this before, but we've come here. They've gone here, literally moving the goalpost, and so certainly figuratively. So we're still talking. I don't want to leave Washington. Most Republicans don't. While DHS, while the funding is not made available to TSA and all those others, it's not just TSA. That's where Americans are facing the brunt of it. But it's FEMA. It's hundreds of thousands of people. The Coast Guard is not being paid. You imagine that? We're at a level of high alertness in our military, and the Democrats won't let the Coast Guard get paid. This is bad. This is horrible politics. This is about creating chaos. This is what they want. Create chaos and blame it on us and somehow score political points. They're going to keep doing that as long as they continue to score those political points. That's why the American people got to call Democrats, call Republicans too. We're on board. We're ready to vote for TSA, for various changes to ICE. But, you know, I guess we need the American people to get engaged because I'm certainly, we're going to continue to work at it.
So much of this seems unimaginable to so many Americans about why this can get in this situation in the first place. And we're even talking now about the prospect of some smaller regional airports being forced to shut down. Do you think it's going to come to that?
It very well may. If the TSA is not getting paid, up at my airport right outside my district in Wilkes-Barre, TSA agent said to me, look, if I don't get paid again, I got to go out and get a second job. I don't even know if I can keep this job. Okay, literally with tears in her eyes. So this is very serious. The regional airports that have a small crew and can't just, bring in backup people, sure, that can happen. And you know what that affects? That affects rural America. I don't want to say it, but I'm not too sure the Democrats care much about rural America. That's how it feels. And it's not all Democrats. Okay, unfortunately, they're following their leadership and nodding along the way. Again, not all of them. A lot of them are very good Americans. But their leadership has a plan that is not about results. It's about control. And they think by gaining political points, they can maintain the people's interest for the midterms. Unbelievable.
Congressman Dan Meuser, thank you for being with us tonight. Good to see you. Well, coming up, President Trump holding his first cabinet meeting since the start of the war with Iran. Will break down everything his administration discussed when we come back.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
Paperwork shouldn't run your life. GovPlus puts it on autopilot. Sent the wrong passport form and got denied? We check for errors and catch mistakes before you hit send. Got hit with a tax penalty? That wouldn't happen with GovPlus. It pre-fills and files on time, even for multiple jobs. Missed your TSA pre-check renewal? With GovPlus, track deadlines and send alerts. Lost your kid's birth certificate? Get it with GovPlus and store it in your secure online vault. One platform, all your paperwork handled.
Well, President Donald Trump holding a cabinet meeting today. It was his first meeting with his newly confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin. This also comes as the DHS shutdown nears its 6th week, and as Iran and the United States go back and forth over demands for a potential ceasefire deal to end that conflict. During the cabinet meeting, Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed the progress the United States has been making and why Iran remains a global threat until this job is finished.
The world is going to be a safer and a better place when President Trump's mission here is achieved. And frankly, I think countries around the world, even those that are out there complaining about this a little bit, should actually be grateful that the United States has a president that's willing to confront a threat like this and not allow it to continue to persist. Because these people will kill as many Americans as they have a chance to do, and if they have a nuclear weapon, as the Vice President pointed out, they could kill millions of Americans in the future, and that is a risk that was not going to continue to exist as long as we had this president.
Diana London is the CEO of London Global Strategies. David Carlucci is with us as well. He's a Democrat strategist. Great to see you both.
Good to be with you.
All right, Diana, President Trump also made sure to send a fresh warning to the Iranian regime if they refuse to abandon their nuclear ambitions. Here he is.
They now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it.
So, Diana, I think the deadline is tomorrow for Trump's ultimatum on Iran. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, you know, what we saw from President Trump today was discipline, focus, and leadership. This was a cabinet operating in total alignment, locked in on results. The president ran the meeting like a CEO. Clear priorities, accountability, and relentless focus on the economy, bringing down price, strengthening American industries, and restoring global leverage. And on foreign policy, especially in Iran, the message was strength through clarity. There's no confusion about U.S. posture right now. Our adversaries know exactly where we stand. That's how you prevent escalation and maintain peace. But I wanted to say something about Scott Bessent. He absolutely nailed it today, laying out a serious market-driven economic vision that reassures both Main Street and Wall Street. This is what competent government looks like: focused, coordinated, and result-oriented.
Lots of praise from President Trump, too, not just about his policy positions, but his whole kit out there at the cabinet meeting, the glasses and everything. President Trump really into that look Scott Bessent was rocking today. David, another important topic at the cabinet meeting was the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. President Trump making Americans aware of exactly why he thinks the Democrats are the ones letting this drag on. Here he is.
They're punishing the American people, including travelers at airports, all in the quest to return to open borders and give amnesty to illegal alien criminals. They love sanctuary cities, which is a sanctuary for criminals. They want to make sure they're taken care of. That's what we're fighting about.
What do you think Democrats actually want at this point, David?
Well, it's very clear. They've been solid on these issues. They say they don't want ICE agents to be masked. They want them to identify themselves with badges, and they want them to have to get warrants to enter someone's home. It's very clear. And unfortunately, even Congress has been trying to negotiate to get DHS open again. But it's Donald Trump that's sticking a wrench in the machine here. He's the one that keeps changing the goalpost. He's the one that's saying, oh, no, wait, we need the Save America Act on top of this. So it's just really ironic to me that he's saying one thing here or reading off a script to the camera, but the American public knows better. This is the guy that was supposed to be the art of the deal. To Diana's point, if he's really a well-functioning CEO, then we wouldn't have this problem. But instead, he keeps moving the goalposts, and he's not disciplined. I mean, he's disciplined if the goal was to do an infomercial to sell Sharpie pens, then maybe Donald Trump was disciplined. But other than that, we don't have a clue as to what is going on. And any military expert will tell you the same thing.
Let me let Diana respond to that.
No. I don't think anyone is clear at all about what they stand for. This is exactly why voters are losing confidence in the Democrat Party, because when it comes to something as fundamental as Homeland Security, they're not acting like serious stewards of government. You don't posture and politicize agencies responsible for protecting the American people.
And
instead,
are you talking
we see
about
a party.
the president?
No, I'm talking about the Democrat Party who's holding up our country hostage to prioritize illegal immigrants in this country and people that are killing our people. That's what I'm talking about.
I just mentioned the three things that the Democrats are talking about. And in addition, they have put forward bills to open up, to fund TSA, to make sure that there's funding for certain parts of DHS. And it's the Republicans that have shot that down. So to say that we want people to suffer, that's the furthest thing from the truth, and the American public knows that. You can talk about people souring on the Democrats, but in fact, every election we've had, every poll that's put out shows that people are choosing Democrats over Republicans, and I think it's exactly for these reasons. The president is extremely distracted from what the American public really cares about.
We got to wrap it up there. We're still very close to the 2024 election. Which said a lot, too, about the way this country wants to move, especially when it comes to the issue of public safety, national security, and immigration.
The president's not making it happen.
David, we're out of time. We got to wrap it up there. Diana London, thank you. David Carlucci, thank you as well. Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Well, one of the biggest gatherings of conservatives kicking off today, the 2026 Conservative Political Action Conference, better known as CPAC. Normally, the event is held just outside of Washington, D.C., but it's being held this year in Grapevine, Texas, and that is where we find the host of Frontline, Carl Higbie, who is live at CPAC right now. Do we have Carl? There he is.
John, what's going on, man?
Carl, how you doing?
Good, man. I mean, look, this is actually, they moved this whole thing over to Texas this year. It's actually great environment. I went to the boot barn, got myself some boots ahead of time. I fit right in.
Nice. Nice. Did you get a hat as well, Carl? I want to see the whole combo, the hat and the boots.
No hat, because I got to fly it back on the plane, John. You know how that rolls.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I see a lot of crazy stuff flying on planes these days. I think you could make a little room for your hat. But tell us about the show, what you have coming up for us today at 6 o'clock here, live from CPAC.
Well, what's great is we have a ton of guests on set here. Actually, Newsmax built this huge set here. It's actually pretty cool. So we got a bunch of people from here. We got the Schlaps coming on. We got a bunch of veteran friends of mine. We're going to talk about Trump's cabinet meeting today. It's great. I mean, the other thing, too, is I've never seen, normally CPAC's exciting and people are pumped, but the people who are here are, like, super amped up. If you talk to anybody here, there is no question about the midterms. Like, John Q. Public out there might be really nervous that the Republicans are going to lose the House. There are people here that are 100% sure that there is absolutely no way the Democrat agenda is going to carry them over the edge in the next election.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was just saying. I mean, everybody looks at what happened in Florida and there's some special state house election this week. They're trying to read the tea leaves on what this all means. But I think you're right. I think the conservative base is still really fired up about the direction of where this country needs to be headed. I think that crowd's well represented at CPAC, and we'll look forward to seeing your program coming up 6 o'clock, Frontline with Carl Higbie, live from Grapevine, Texas. Thank you, Carl.
All right, thanks, Sean.
All right, coming up, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff reveals new information from the Iranian negotiations. We'll talk about that when the record continues.
I'm Jon Glasgow, and whether the story is right here in New York City in a courthouse or at the border wall in Arizona, we're going to be boots on the ground to bring you all the facts to make sure that you get the story straight, because that's what's important to us right here at Newsmax.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy 1 bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy 1, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
Pump up the volume. Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Welcome back. Another top Iranian official is dead today. Israel says it killed Ali Reza Tangsiri. He was the commander of the IRGC's Navy. The IDF says that they killed this commander in a city adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz, and Israel says that he led the efforts to actually close the Strait of Hormuz. That strait is where 20% of the world's oil and gas passes through. With its closure, gas prices are increasing and rapidly. Today, President Trump gave an update on the war.
We estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up.
Correspondent Zach Anders joins us live now from Tel Aviv with the latest on the ground. Good evening, Zach.
And good evening to you, John. We're well into the fourth week of this war. There have been 10 attacks into Israel today, 9 people injured at multiple impact sites, more cluster warheads blanketing residential areas across the country and even across Palestinian towns in the West Bank. Now, the president, of course, has been speaking a lot about the energy infrastructure, threatening to destroy some of the Iranian oil facilities. Well, he's just within the last 10 minutes posted on Truth Social an update here that, quote, as per Iranian government request, please let the statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they're going very well. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Again, that post about 10 minutes ago, a deadline extension on the energy plant destruction for the Iranian side. Diplomacy might have a window here, but the war's certainly at a high pitch, a high intensity right now, especially in the north with Hezbollah. In Lebanon, they have fired more than 100 rockets into northern Israel today. One man was killed, a civilian, multiple others injured as a result of that Hezbollah rocket fire. The IDF also announcing that 2 soldiers were killed in fighting with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. They've also announced that another ground division has been deployed into southern Lebanon. So where we stand here on day 27 of the war, Israeli officials tell me that the current count stands at 18 civilians dead, more than 1,500 wounded across the country. And there are concerning signs from Israeli air defenses in the last 72 hours. While these attacks, they do contain fewer missiles, they're still getting through. There have been multiple direct hits. But on the other side, the Iranians, they have no air defenses right now to speak of. The Israeli U.S. Air Force is enjoying near complete air superiority in the skies over Iran. And today, the Israelis are announcing that they've killed a senior IRGC naval commander, as you mentioned. Those reports are really, you can read on either side of the page. It goes either way. There's reports saying that right now the U.S. and Israelis are in lockstep trying to achieve a strategic regime change. Other reports claiming that right now inside the Pentagon and in Jerusalem that there's an understanding that the Islamic regime has maintained a remarkable grip on internal and domestic power, that there won't be a chance for regime change here. So either way, thousands of U.S. ground forces are on their way here, and that diplomatic progress, as you heard the president says, is there, that the fake news is saying that it's not there. Well, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff at today's cabinet meeting, he also said that there's strong signs that the current regime will capitulate and accept Washington's peace plan. But then that would leave this current Islamic regime responsible for sending terror across the world, for massacring more than reportedly 30,000 people across their country. That would leave them in power. If there is to be a deal to be had, a lot of folks, especially in Jerusalem, will not be happy at that progress. At that prospect. John.
Yes, I was going to say they consider that a lack of progress, I guess, for the most part, Zach. And tell us a little bit more about Hezbollah and that situation now. Israel is still fighting off a very determined Hezbollah, and to many extent.
It's been surprising. The level of ground fighting has picked up considerably, I would say, in the last 72 hours. The idea that Hezbollah is some battered, beleaguered organization, I mean, that certainly exists on just about every level of intelligence sources that you'll speak to that, sure, the leadership, the command structure is battered. You go back to the pager operation. Those were mid to senior level commanders that were taken out of the fight. And so their military structure beleaguered, but you're still talking about a terror organization that has upwards of 100,000 men that would be willing to join into a fight, ground forces all across Lebanon. I think that's what we're seeing right now. Now, the Israelis, they've been blowing up bridges. That's for civilians the only way in and out of southern Lebanon to be able to go to their homes or escape from their homes and from this fighting. So that's added a really difficult dynamic on the civilian side. But it's also hindered Hezbollah's ability to be able to send in reinforcements into these areas without having to slow down, trudge across a river, and Israeli drones or fighter jets are going to see that and try and strike them when they do so. And they certainly aren't able to bring in their trucks and their heavier equipment down south of the Litani River right now as a result of blowing up those bridges. So a couple of strategic wins for the Israelis, but today an example of the fact that they're encountering Hezbollah ground resistance in these villages. They're losing soldiers. Casualties spiked dramatically today, and 2 soldiers dead as a result of that Hezbollah fighting. This is going to be the thing, I think, that far outlasts the Iranian conflict, that the Israelis are going to be tied up fighting Hezbollah for many more months to come.
Yes, the very real cost of this conflict on display. Zach Anders live for us in Tel Aviv. Zach, thank you. Let's welcome back with us former IDF spokesperson and senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. Jonathan, great to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Let's talk more about Lebanon in a second and Hezbollah, but I wanted to get your first response to the announcement that Israel has killed Iran's top naval commander, the man who was responsible for the operations in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing effort. This is what Israel is doing, has been doing for the last 27 days, and will continue to do. That is to apply continuous, relentless pressure on Iranian military and political leadership, to have them guessing and running for their safety, to try to impede their ability to command and control, and to make everything as difficult as possible for the Iranian regime, specifically the IRGC, to manage operations. It's a good achievement. He's one of the planners and executors of the Iranian attempt to close down the Hormuz Strait, to violate international law, to attack civilian shipping. He's one of the people who really believes in that believed in that idea and is executing it. So that's a good step forward. Obviously, he will be replaced in short order by another IRGC general who will now become a target for Israeli operations as well. But the bigger picture here is that, just as Zach said very correctly, the war continues. I think I've been in shelter today 4 or 5 times. We have wounded and killed Israelis all over the country in the north and wounded people in the center and south, missiles flying towards Israel, exploding in midair. So it's very much a live conflict, and it's a kind of an interesting gap between reality on the ground in Israel and communications in Washington, and, talking about postponing and not saying ceasefire, but basically postponing attacks. The war in Israel is very, very real, and I think it's pretty real in Iran for the regime as well.
Yeah, it seems real, I'm sure, to everyone who is running into their shelters multiple times every day. Let's talk a little bit more about the messaging we are getting out of Washington, D.C. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, he detailed today just how decimated Iran's military is. Here he is.
27 days ago, Iran had a modern military. Never in recorded history has a nation's military been so quickly and effectively neutralized. Over 10,000 enemy targets destroyed, over 140, I think now you're right, Mr. President, over 150 naval vessels sunk, underground facilities destroyed, their defense industrial base in shambles, and overnight, not only do they not have a Navy, Mr. President, they no longer have a Navy commander. IRGC's Navy commander was killed overnight in operation. So no Navy leader.
But as you pointed out, John, there are still missiles being fired from Iran into Israel and to other countries. They still very much seem to be in the fight.
Yes, I mean, the achievements are real, and everything that Secretary Hegg said is, as far as I understand it, 100% correct, of course. But the Iranian regime retains the ability to continue to fight. They prepared for this, and they have decentralized and dispersed their missile firing capabilities to such an extent that they are almost independent of the overall chain of command. And yes, while the Iranian fleet, IRG fleet, has been downed, they still have shore-to-sea missiles, and they still have torpedoes, and they still have small unmanned naval vessels that they will be able to use mostly against civilian targets if they would like to do so. So there's still a lot of military work to do, and really the focus, in my perspective, is the regime. As long as this regime exists, then all of the achievements that Secretary Hegseth mentioned, they are temporary, because if the regime is allowed to exist at the end of this war, my bet, and all Israeli intel assessments, are that this regime will go back to doing exactly what they did before, to oppress the Iranian people, to try to build weapons of mass destruction, to threaten regional countries, to threaten the US, and of course to try to destroy the state of Israel. So the overall goal here, I think, is the regime and not only the military degradation of their capabilities.
That's the tricky part about this. At what point can the determination be made that this regime is no longer able to sustain itself? And that's what everybody wants to know. I want to play a quick clip here for you. This is Special Envoy Steve Witkoff tried to negotiate the deal with Iran. He made a very telling statement today. Listen to him.
Throughout all of these negotiations, and we were repeatedly rebuffed on everything we asked for. I have no doubt that we exhausted all efforts on behalf of a peaceful resolution, as you directed. Jared and I both agreed that the Iranians were there to buy time until a weaker president arrived.
So, Jonathan, real quick, 30 seconds. There was no indication that Iran is willing to give up their plans for nuclear weapons.
No, they're hardballing, and I think they're hardballing in a position where they shouldn't be hardballing, because they are going to lose militarily, and every day that goes by, they'll lose more, and it'll be a worse situation for them. The smart thing for them to do would have been to take a deal, take a bow, but pride, arrogance, and religious fanaticism doesn't allow them to do that. And you know what? I welcome that, because I very much agree with Witkoff. With this president, with this American administration, I think that there's a real chance for permanent change in the Middle East. And I don't think that would have happened under other administrations. I'm hopeful for the Iranian people, I'm hopeful for the US, and I'm hopeful for Israel.
Yeah, still a lot of time left for President Trump if they're hoping for a weaker president. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you, John.
Ousted Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores back in a New York courtroom today. They were looking to get drug trafficking charges dismissed. Maduro's defense argued that the indictment should be tossed because the U.S. government is blocking their ability to pay their legal fees. The judge said he was not going to dismiss the case, but it remains unclear if Maduro can use Venezuelan government funds for his defense. Maduro and his wife are currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Yeah, that one. Well, coming up, the Olympics makes a decision on trans athletes, what the record or what that means when the record continues right after this.
Hi, I'm Katrina Ziff. I've worked on the red carpet, I've worked at Vogue magazine, and now I work at Newsmax, and I couldn't be happier because it's all about bringing the most important stories in the world directly to you.
Get new floors during Empire Today's gigantic 75% off sale. That's carpet, hardwood, tile, and vinyl. 75% off. Schedule now.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today. Spring showers bring the Spring Waterproof Sale at Lumber Liquidators. The absolute best selection of kid-proof, pet-proof, waterproof flooring. Over 90 varieties in stock and priced to move. Like Tranquility by Corlux Athens Oak, slashed down to 89 cents a square foot. Or Corlux Silver County Birch for $119 a square foot. The Spring Waterproof Sale now through April 7th. Shop the best selection of waterproof flooring in stores nationwide or online at lumberliquidators.com.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working.
Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. I'd look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Relief Factor is a daily supplement that doesn't just mask pain, it helps eliminate it. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
During the Omaha Steaks Spring Savings Event, prices are going down. Save up to 50% with entrees about $5 per serving. Order now to get 8 burgers free. This spring, watch the prices fall at omahasteaks.com/TV.
My name is Stephen Kubrick. I wrestle as Steve Macklin in TNA. Americans shouldn't stand for their heroes sleeping on the streets. Across this great country, there are thousands of veterans with no place to call home. They deserve better. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is committed to eradicating veteran homelessness by providing housing and critical services. So please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that, no needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
So this one begs the question, how did this take so long? Today, the International Olympics Committee made the decision to ban men from competing in women's Olympic events. Here's what the IOC president had to say.
The policy that we have announced is based on science, and it has been led by medical experts with the best interests of athletes at its heart. The scientific evidence is very clear. Male chromosomes give performance advantages in sports that rely on strength, power, or endurance. At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat. So it's absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category.
Let's welcome in now national champion gymnast and founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, Jennifer Sey joins us. Jennifer, great to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's a good day.
Yeah, I look at that soundbite and I think, imagine going back in time and playing that soundbite for us 10, 12 years ago and thinking that we needed some big decision to get to this point.
I feel like that every single day that I am on the front lines of waging this battle. Every single day I listen to the most insane, gobbledygook about, trans women being women, they're not, they're men. And I don't want to get into it now, but I will give the IOC president who just took over last March, she said when she took over, she was going to protect the women's category, that she knew it needed to happen. I was worried. Advocacy organizations were pushing her really hard up in the other direction up until 2 weeks ago, talking about how this was bigoted and discriminatory and exclusive. Yes, by the way, the Olympics are exclusive. Not everybody makes the team. And she stood her ground and she brought back sex testing, which was in place up until 1999 in the Olympics.
And I think, this probably doesn't happen without the support of the Trump administration. They've been very upfront about this policy and the fact that they're playing such a big role in the 2028 Summer Olympic Games. Obviously, that was a factor here as well.
Absolutely. You know, he signed the executive order last February, which applies to sports in the education system and governed by Title IX. He's definitely put the pressure on because the Olympics in 2028 will be in Los Angeles. I hope this is not a one-time thing, and it will last. But I really believe Coventry feels this is the right thing to do. The head of World Athletics, Sebastian Coe, made this decision for track and field about a year ago already. World Boxing had already made the same decision. This is where the tide is turning. But I will tell you, we still have work to do. The NCAA has said they will protect women's sports, but the only proof of sex they require is a birth certificate or a driver's license, which can still be changed in most states in America.
No, I think you're right. This is a fight, even though you can watch it and any person with common sense would look at this and say what the IOC president said is absolutely true and provable just by the kind of eye test. But we are going to have to keep fighting this because, you know, things like this. CNN put out a headline today. Look what it says, quote, transgender women athletes are banned from competing in the Olympics following new IOC guidelines. They are not banned from competing in the Olympics. It's just, again, not transgender women. We're talking about men pretending they're women, being banned from pretending like they're women at the Olympics. That's what we're talking about.
Well said. Yes, the majority of legacy media, the headlines as well as the ex-posts said something like that. Trans women banned from the Olympics. No one is banned from the Olympics. Men can compete in the men's category, whether they are men that claim to be women, as in trans-identified, or whether they are males like Amani Khalif who have a disordered sex development. It doesn't matter. They're still male. They still have all those physical advantages that Y chromosome provides that Coventry outlined, and they have no business being in the women's category. They can compete in men's. Absolutely no one is banned except people that take performance-enhancing drugs. They're banned. The other thing you're going to hear is that it's invasive and it's this horrible test. They already drug test at every Olympics. They drug test at every competition leading up to the Olympics. They don't need to add
Well, it's
another
also
test.
it's hard to think of anything. It's hard to think of anything more invasive than men in women's locker rooms too. I mean, that's pretty invasive on its own.
Well,
so we'll leave it there, Jennifer. We got to run.
Yeah.
Also very invasive. Yes.
Thank
Jennifer
you.
Sey, great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, Savannah Guthrie gives an emotional first interview since her mom's disappearance over 2 months ago. The heartbreaking words from the Today Show anchor when the record continues.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling downstairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stairlifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stairlift, the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stairlifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stairlift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs anymore.
And our Acorn Stairlift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stairlift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stairlift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stairlift if there is something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
I am king of my castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stairlift directly to the staircase. In most cases, in 2 hours or less. There's no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stairlift.
Don't risk a serious fall going down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stairlifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with Acorn Stairlifts.
Call 1-800-908-4077 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That number again is 1-800-908-4077. Call now.
Hi, I'm Wade Allen Root, the national TV and radio host known as the MAGA warrior and the capitalist evangelist. This presidency is ushering in the golden age of prosperity, and it's all built around making America the energy capital of the world. Enter Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. It took 40 years to piece together this 40,000-acre giant gas discovery. It's estimated to contain up to 6 trillion cubic feet of gas, with a management forecast projecting the first 25 wells alone to produce 400 million cubic feet per day of natural gas. This is how we power the AI future of America with clean natural gas. Headed by oil and gas legend Mark Bruner, whose previous public companies delivered spectacular returns for investors. At their peaks, Pedico Energy grew about 100 to 1 for investors. Ultra Petroleum grew about 1,000 to 1 for investors. To learn more about Lost Soldier Oil and Gas, scan the QR code on the screen or go to lostsoldier.com. That's lostsoldier.com.
To think that I brought this to her bedside, that it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry.
Savannah Guthrie there speaking on the Today Show with co-anchor Hoda Kotb in her first interview since her mother went missing. Savannah fearing her mother may have been targeted because of her fame. The emotional interview was hard to watch at times, including what we just showed you there. During this interview, though, Savannah Guthrie revealed that the back doors of her mother's home in Arizona were found propped open when the family first got there after she was reported missing.
My sister called me and I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911. Yeah. She's like, "I did. We've called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense.
Well, Savannah's saying it just didn't make any sense because her mother's phone, her purse, and other personal belongings were still there. Despite weeks of investigations, authorities have not announced a suspect. Hopefully this interview might prompt someone who knows something to come forward. Tough case there. Well, authorities have also confirmed that a 20-year-old University of Alabama student, Jimmy Gracie, died by accident, an accidental drowning after falling into the sea near a popular nightclub during spring break. According to the autopsy report, Gracie drowned after he lost his balance and fell into the water, which is close to the Choco nightclub near Barcelona, Spain, on March 17th. The Spanish police have ruled the death an accident, and they say they will not file any criminal charges. The junior from Elmhurst, Illinois, became separated from his friends while leaving that beachfront club and was last seen walking alone towards the rocky shoreline. His body was recovered 2 days later from the sea near Barcelona's Samaresto beach area. The University of Alabama and Gracie's fraternity have expressed condolences to his family and friends. More on the record after this quick break. We'll be right back.
The scientists who know better will not speak up.
What's the truth behind climate change? Find out the dangers and why money and power may be driving this story. Award-winning scientists tell the real facts. Watch Unsettled, Climate Change's Real Story.
Are you or a loved one a military veteran that has been diagnosed with mesothelioma? Do you have questions about getting the best treatment or paying medical bills? Have you received the proper care and compensation you deserve? Let our firm serve you with the same dedication you served your country. We are exclusively devoted to helping those with mesothelioma. Call now to get this free book, and we'll answer any question you have. We'll even visit you.
Call 800-555-8958 or go to mesobook.com.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
A better heart health supplement. That's what we all want. That's why for 8 years now, I've relied on this heart powder. It's Super Beats, and I swear by it.
Super Beats is the original #1 selling beet brand for healthy blood pressure support. The only cardiologist-recommended beet brand that's also trusted by over 40 national championship-winning pro and college sports teams for cardio-powered energy.
For cardio results you can feel, the only brand I trust is Super Beats.
Try Super Beats today at human.com.
It's spring makeover time at Cabinets to Go, now through April 7th. Bring home our newest collections. The timeless style of crisp Harbortown White, Broad Creek Blue's stunningly bold and classic design, and the cozy warmth of Cotswold Linen. At 0% APR for 48 months. That's a new kitchen designed to fit your style, space, and budget, interest-free for 4 years. It's the spring makeover sale now through April 7th. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dry premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Sponsored by Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, the health of fresh food with the convenience of kibble. Visit drmartypets.com/TV.
All right, welcome back. Humans aren't the only ones who avoid doctor's appointments. Apparently cats do too. Now, how did this feline dodge their doctor? Well, watch this. By getting stuck in a mechanical reclining chair. That's right. The chubby cat had to be rescued after trying to evade its owner before a trip to the vet. Kansas Oakland Park Police arrived at the scene where they found the chubby cat stuck in between the mechanical gears of the chair. According to the police, the firefighters were able to safely free the feline, and everyone lived happily ever after. Look at that guy. One too many treats, I guess. Thanks for watching The Record. I'm John Bachman in for Greta. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.